Men, if you're ready to reclaim your edge, listen up. I used to be held back by constant bathroom trips with multiple wake-ups during my sleep and looking for restrooms whenever I was out. Then I discovered Better Man. After just 2 months, I started experiencing fewer trips to the bathroom, less urge to go, and I even slept through some nights. I feel a noticeable boost in my overall well-being, even sexual stamina. It gives me the freedom and confidence to live life on my terms. Better Man is clinically tested and trusted by thousands of men over 25 years. Ready to take back control? Go to BeBetterNow.com to order your supply today. That's BeBetterNow.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed. Individual results may vary.
Hello and welcome to Imp's WWE Adventures podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Help the network out by leaving us a 5-star review, give a donation directly through Red Circle, and become one of the amazing community by joining the Social Suplex Discord. Link is in the description. Order merch from all our shows over at topped-tees.com. Thank you to Dickie. Subscribe to the newsletter over on socialsuplex.com. Huge shout out to Trish and Tim and every single person who's contributed to the newsletter so far. Listen to the other top-notch shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network, One Nation Radio, Keeping It Strong Style, All Things Elite, Wrestling Art with Chris Things, Trish and Sarah, Tunnel Talk, and Sam Brown's AEW Match Guide. My name is Matt Mayer, aka Imp, and this is your quick look back of the WWE week that was. 30 minutes of a man who's back into society after getting hit proper with COVID. You're probably not going to hear it much in the edit because I'm going to be cutting it out, but yeah, I've still got a cough. Most folks are quite a bit sore, so apologies if I'm not able to give this the same oomph as I was beforehand, but you've had 2 weeks off from me. You've been able to recover without me. It does mean that I missed, I guess, Quarterly's season, where it wasn't just WWE, where businesses are giving their talks to their investors, saying that they've made record profits and then sacking people. WWE was no different. A little note that they fired all of their gays, so, make of that what they are. I've got a feeling they're not going to be celebrating a certain month this year. But that leads me, that accidentally makes me sound like I'm saying that the people involved are homophobic. The homophobic John Cena, Randy Orton. Take that back. No evidence. Take that back. But WWE Backlash that I watched live on Netflix from St. Louis, Missouri took place this weekend. The main event of John Cena versus Randy Orton. Getting out of the way, a big match. So let's just jump on to it. Jump on over to find out whether Randy Orton was able to beat John Cena. Oh, they went for over 30 minutes. Oh no! Oh no. Let's jump on over to Missouri.
The problem now, off the low blow. Cena has the championship gold in hand again. Right off the skull of Orton. He gets rid of the evidence. Into the cover. Again, no official, but coming to and dragging himself into the ring is Chad Patton. Patton's back into the ring. The cover now by Cena. Randy Orton is down and out, and John Cena retains the damn championship.
Do you want to see John Cena and Randy Orton main event? Do you want to see it in 2025? Do you want to see it if it's 30 minutes long? Like, you're joking with me, aren't you, you cheeky pup? Like, oh no, you're not joking. John Cena vs Randy Orton in 2025, and it's over 30 minutes. Surely this cannot be good. Surely, the bar that I'm looking for, surely this is just boring. Well, my actual closest piece of comparison really is, I don't know if people remember during lockdown that there was the Edge versus Randy Orton greatest wrestling match ever, or greatest match ever, because Vince wouldn't say the word wrestling. Yeah, the greatest match ever, Randy Orton versus Edge, and it was every single trope that WWE thinks make a good match, and they put in every single one of them and used all of the cinematography tricks that they knew at the time to try and get it to make it feel more exciting, more energetic. It's the greatest thing ever, which means an insane amount of camera cuts, and the editing's done to make the flow constantly going, so there's no downtime. I've not gone back to it, but I've got a feeling it probably doesn't watch back very well, even though it's trying to do every single trick that WWE thinks make a good match, and they're all in there. Every one of them. This match reminded me of that, where they're using all of the tricks they can with, they think makes a good match. You've got kicking out of finishers, you've got the officials running out to interrupt stuff, you've got the corner post stuff, you've got the announce table breaking, you've got a table breaking. It is all of the tropes that they believe will make a really good match. It's all in there. which means, like, it's better than it had any right to be. John Cena vs Randy Orton in 2025 is not an exciting prospect, and I was, you know what, it's St. Louis, Missouri for Backlash immediately, just do it, just get it out of the way, and they finally got the crowds that are going to cheer for it. Like, the crowds that would have booed this and gone, absolutely not, or the crowds that, let me phrase that a bit better, the crowds that did boo this a decade ago, they're watching AEW, they're having a great time. Nowadays, they've got fans who are happy and they are enjoying the product, even if, like we saw with Kentucky for Raw, for the main event, which was, it's like a perfectly enjoyable main event, but that crowd is just so quiet for it, even though they're still talking positively about the product. Like, you actually watch the shows and they're not always going super loud for the action being given. Compared to AEW, where you watch one of those shows and those crowds are so loud and enjoying the action. Like, it's really weird just to see that comparison. But anyway, this match, that hokiness of the greatest wrestling match ever, put that in with a hot crowd of cheering for their hometown guy, Randy Orton. In the first portion, when Randy Orton's doing a headlock, yeah, the pace is pretty slow. And that's my other worry as well. I was worried with John Cena, where after the main event at WrestleMania, where he was playing the heel, he was doing the headlock stuff, he was the one that was then going to do the Cody fight back kind of thing, was kind of the structure of the match before it then went off the rails with interruptions. But that's the kind of building up of it. Whilst in John Cena's matches, he, like, for most of his career, he would be the guy just taking all the punishment, and it was called the 5 moves of doom because he would take all the punishment, then just hit his 5 moves and win. And that happened so many times where the bad guy would just be absolutely destroying him. The commentators are like, how is John Cena going to beat them? And almost every time, the answer was, he's just going to hit the 5 moves of dooms and win. And that's what happened. It was kind of a booking thing that became a meme for a reason. So when the WrestleMania match happened, and now he's the guy that's running all the control, doing the headlocks and the heel jibber jabber, and it's incredibly boring. And I'm just like, oh no. Like, it's absolutely fine. I don't mind there being like a boring period if you're kind of doing it, I won't say making it shit on purpose, but what I mean is you're having that low period to then give a massive upswing in terms of momentum. The finish is really good, and the finish is white hot. I would kind of forgive that earlier, slower part because you were keeping the crowd down a little bit to then really light them up. That didn't happen at WrestleMania. They stayed down, and then it ended on mild. No, it ended on what? And then applause when they realised they'd watched John Cena win. Like, it's a really weird reaction. Here, it's almost back to normal. It's almost back to his opponent having all of that control, and then he fights back and eventually wins. It basically came down to that, almost that similar structure, but with it reversed, because now he's doing that as the bad guy, and he's more surviving with villainous tricks rather than surviving with heroic heart and fight and all of that stuff. And I think this version works way, way better. Like, for me, if I'm gonna think about how I'm going to book heel John Cena, this is how I'd want to do it for the matches going forward. But basically, you do the same thing. Don't have him be the guy in control, please, because it's so boring. You could have it like this. He looks and I don't mind it because if you make him look beatable, but he keeps surviving, keeps holding on to it, for me that really adds to that story, that he's trying to survive that entire year, and what he's trying to do at the end of it, nobody wants. So if he keeps more surviving and cheating to get through stuff, I feel like that leads to the overall story they're telling a lot better. But yeah, super hokey, bad acting, sports entertainment bollocks. Just now they've got that crowd that they're going to cheer it rather than the ones that would boo it. But like, the first half of this match was the exact kind of main event WWE were serving back in the late noughties, early 2010s. And honestly, I much prefer Cena Orton going with the tried and trusted match structure rather than delivering the bore fest from WrestleMania. Like, this style they gave here, it's not for me, but it certainly is better than slow heel Cena. St. Louis got to pop for their RKO, but don't worry, we still got our routine booking. Referee down, Cena corny acting as he grabbed the championship, a second RKO with a slow count drawing out the St. Louis reaction. They're like, oh, we won that 3. They played this crowd absolutely perfectly, giving Orton the AA to the announce table spot too, so he got to get that pop as well. Not through the announce table, they've not figured out how to actually collapse those yet. And the table bump as well for Randy Orton, because Randy Orton is not taking any of those back bumps, absolutely not. And of course, St. Louis, Missouri was surely the only kind of people who thought that Randy Orton had any chance of winning. When the officials ran out, every single one of them took an RKO, but there was never a ref out there to count the pin. As we're saying, John Cena more surviving than showing his heroic fight. Eventually, the officials ran down everything WWE thinks makes it a great main event, but still no ref to count the 3. Going for the punt, and it's R-Truth of all people who makes the final interruption. John Cena low blow and title shot to the skull for the 3, which again is the absolute finish for me, because you are building up to, surely the final beat of this story is Cody Rhodes hitting John Cena over the head with the title to win. Surely. It just feels like it makes the most sense. So if you have John Cena continue to win with that rather than the attitude adjustment, it ties it up way nicer. It took all the bells and whistles, but this was far better than the title win. Like, it's not a style I massively enjoy, but yeah, this was a much better flow for the heel Cena character as well. Also, this crowd, like, they're not waiting for any of those big pops or big returns, so they're not really disappointed by any of that. They're just there happy to cheer for their guy. So yeah, honestly, I'm not crapping on this match. It's how I talk about films as well, where I've got the list of the best made films, in my opinion, and the list of my favourite films are two completely different lists. And that's kind of helps me, I think, for when I'm talking about other forms of media. So like with this here, I'm like, yeah, it's not my favourite style, but clearly it's worked for someone, and it's definitely better than we got at WrestleMania. A positive. And this show overall was a genuinely, like, pretty solid B show. I do give the caveat that I wasn't well enough to watch it live, so I watched it like the next day and slowly over the course of the day chipped in and made my notes. So I watched this in a, like, coming out of COVID very different state than a lot of people. I feel like that maybe helps quite a bit in terms of my enjoyment of the show, but yeah, it was a B show, so my level was never going to be, like, super high for it. But in terms of, like, 3-star WWE special shows, like, you can't go wrong here. This is exactly that. Absolutely fine. And the matches early on in the card as well were, like, pretty fun too. I think the only one I didn't particularly care for was Gunther versus Pat McAfee, but we'll get it. And I guess in a way Dominic Mysterio versus Penta just kind of was. Like, it's fine, it's setting up whatever it wants to. But next we'll jump over to the United States Championship. Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest. A good old bit of multi-man hectic fun to wake everybody up to start the show. A lovely snappy pace throughout too, with commentary telling us surely they can't go at pace for too long, as they just ran at each other constantly. But they did. Like, I'm a sucker for a 4-man that gives very little room for a dance for two, with a third lad, like, constantly popping up to halt that flow. A match built so perfectly to get the crowd fully popping for Big Jacob, with him on the top rope, McIntyre lifted up to German the man down, ensue a quick flurry, Fatu Samoan hip charge, Fatu dive to the outside, Fatu swanton back inside, like, so perfectly designed for the champion to hit his flow. And yeah, that Jacob Fatu lad is pretty fucking over. The eventual Fatu and McIntyre stay down got a great reaction. Like, you want to make Fatu, give him McIntyre and let McIntyre really work his magic. The final few minutes of the match had the crowd reacting to every little thing, eventually amping up to take a couple of lads out via Priest and McIntyre brawling into the crowd, up onto some production boxes, south of heaven down onto some tables. Happy St. Louis cheering as they got the thing. They wanted tables, they got the tables. Then LA Knight was set to do his own table crash through the announce table, but it's WWE, so interference time. Solo saved Fatu, but he wasn't the attention, as it's Jeff Cobb who made the jump, the man making his debut, with the champion unaware this was going to happen, so that was all playing out in the aftermath. And I don't mind that, with Jacob Fatu acting a bit more, I guess ironically, a bit more solo, then Sikoa is somewhat subtly telling him, I can just replace you with another big guy. But Knight was out for the pop-up moonsault, and confused-faced Jacob retained. Next up was the Women's Intercontinental Championship, Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch. Becky with her I'm a baddie, pouty, scowly face, which also a bit like normally that means we're in for a business and we're set for an Irish banger. Like, I've seen that expression before. Usually leads to good things. I'm thinking specifically of Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair from that Survivor Series, where it was a Survivor Series that the build for it made absolutely no sense. There seemed to be absolutely no story or anything character-wise, maybe apart from, like, it was like Rey Mysterio, I think Bobby Lashley, I think it was, in the 5-on-5, but that's about it. Becky Lynch herself then came out later that day, just being like, yeah, like, it would be nice if there was, like, a reason for any of this to be happening, but we're still going to go out there and put on a good show. And they did. Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair was an amazing match. And I was right. This was a great match. Veteran Becky giving that needed spotlight to a struggling for time but clearly talented up-and-comer. Plenty of room for the new Irish lass to dance, making 2 for 2 in these matches being built to really shine these newer acts. WWE finally have crowds happy to go along with everything, booing Becky as she clobbered onto the younger lass and gave her a good old baddie corner wallop. Valkyrie's long-haired fiancé ringside, as Becky gave him a bit of a chinwag, used to feed into Lyra, then amping up back into the ring. Like, she's great and usually gets reluctant crowds into her matches, so no surprise that given an actual strong opponent to dance with, she's absolutely standing up to the task. Baddie Becky tried to use her previously successful cheatings, like grabbing the ropes, which worked against Charlotte all the years ago, but with Valkyria, the ref spotted it basically immediately. The crowd fully into the boo and yeah strike exchanges towards the end, cheering loudly for the submissions and reversals. The continued flow combo of what worked in the past not working on Lyra, kicking out of a manhandle slam, hit without a lot of force but still kicked out of it, and sending Betty Bex into the chair time song, using the ref getting rid of that chair to expose the turnbuckle. The final flow danced with the champion hitting the strikes and flips she was previously unable to land, but Chekhov's turnbuckle was there in the background of each camera shot. Loved the overacting as Valkyria kicked out of a second manhandle slam. Lynch, unaware that her fellow Irish lass hit the second buckle and not the exposed one. Hokey fun times with the ref out of position putting the buckle back on, giving Becky her time to kick out of a finisher. The quick reversal flow afterwards is so equal, but Lyra managed to snatch a 3 count. Becky snapped after the bell, officials out to get her off. Badass Becky knows there's no getting around Jason Jordan. She's like, you know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna leave. But this led to her having a grumpy promo on Monday Night Raw, sat up on the corner. But this bit down here kept Valkyria off of the show here. So Becky got to say, but who was the real winner? And the viewers get to go, the one who won. Which wasn't you. Which works into feeding the heel, whatever. But this was, for me, this was match of the night. And I felt like that was relatively easy, which is great for Valkyria. And there's something to actually work with here. Because it's been very, very apparent that there isn't really anyone up there for Rhea Ripley. Like a genuine person for her to be built up to really be facing. And now they're doing a good job of building up Io again. The crowds are getting more and more into Io. It's still clear that Rhea Ripley is that star. But whilst this here feels like they're actually giving time, much needed time with Valkyria has just been so struggling to get. And surprise, surprise, Becky Lynch comes back and suddenly those who have been struggling for time of having these matches kind of fought to happen. It'd be nice if, she didn't have to do that. If they would actually just book these people. For me, Valkyria's clearly got the talent. Just since she's become champion, they've just not really featured her much at all. Moving on to the Intercontinental Championship, Dominic Mysterio versus Penta. Finishing out our trio of matches designed to make our champions look good. Sure, Penta had to sell for some Dominic Mysterio headlocks, but the man also pulled out some surprisingly smooth flows, like Mysterio hitting a suicider into a DDT. The match was perfectly fine, but as a trio of title matches, it rounded out this part of the show off as well. Of course, the match came to life whenever Penta woke into action, but they gave plenty of those pops to Dom too. Not just the sell for Dom slow heel work like we'd see in a Baron Corbin match or something, but actual heights during the flows. Honestly, it was notes that worked so well for the WrestleMania 4-way too. This gave him moments during that 4-way, meaning that if you weren't entering the match supporting Dom, you kind of naturally just end up getting behind him. Canadian Destroyer on the apron because it's a cool spot, but it was used to have both lads down for the match to stop and full shenanigans to end things. Carlito the distractor, Finn took too long with JD and the ref caught them. You, and you, get out of here, to a big pop, then a second one as Penta dove onto all of them. But that worked as distraction for Chad Gable to El Americano his way on out and headbutt Penta, the man down for Dom to frog splash onto and the dirty one retained. It was a match again to make Dominic look relatively competent, but it took the Judgment Day interfering and then it took Americano properly interfering to end things. Which I don't think you want Dom to seem too strong a champion, but in this weird mid-ground where they definitely do want to turn him babyface and they've got Finn kind of all set up for that. My only worry is that they really drag out these Judgment Day twists and arcs and things. So even though everything is in place, and I can understand part one is waiting for Liv Morgan to finish filming the movie that she's currently on, meaning that she's physically not there to do any of the angles or teasings you want to do. But history has shown that with this Judgment Day stuff, when they do these angles, they take an absolute age to get to these turns. So I am fully expecting this one to really be played out just because that's what history's taught me. If you can, catch me off guard by making me think you're going to do that and then just snapping it quicker. Play with the formula rather than let me go, okay, I know when this is going to happen. I do prefer a world where we're getting these longer stories actually thought out rather than just what are we doing this month? But also, you can't have everything or everything play off and all of these quarterly moments that this takes place at SummerSlam and takes place at Royal Rumble. You gotta sprinkle stuff in between. Gunter versus Pat McAfee. When I informed the others at Social Suplex that I had COVID so couldn't do a show last week, my jokey line was, I'll be back to cover Gunter losing to Pat McAfee. Yay! Well, here I am. And good news. But this match was absolutely everything I expected. Sort of designed as a feel-good bit before the big boo main event ending, with Pat kind of earning the respect of Gunter throughout, even though he got beaten down. Honestly, knowing WWE leans closer to the authoritarian kind means Cole's lines about wanting to be free to voice his opinions about punishment kind of ring a little hollow to go through this match. That said, this was meant to be a surprise little bit of fun, which, it's not how I'd personally book Gunter. like, at all. But if you must, I'm not going to complain too much about the shenanigans as long as the end result is the same. Because you're not going to have Gunter lose here, right? You're not going to have him lose, right? You know, after he just lost the World Championship and he's fighting a commentator, you're not going to have him lose. The start was grand enough. Gunter just toying with Pat with the kicks and chops and totally not taking him seriously. Your standard setup for the baddie's cocky nonchalance costing him, but it's less cocky and more using Pat to take out his frustration after losing the title, which I'd argue means the ending always should be Pat losing. But I guess you've got to you could dig him down deeper. Show Pat giving that fight back. And they're out here making me watch McAfee knackered bouncing off the ropes as Gunter sells for him. Submission and stiff elbow shots as the crowd ate up every second of the drama. Gunter lost his focus with Cole coming out to ringside and set to powerbomb him instead, really teasing out a Pat victory with like roll-ups and even Michael Cole grabbing the ankle. Every turn they had Gunter rightfully fend off the two lads who aren't competitors. The farce is truly over, called Barrett as McAfee battled out of a sleeper, unsuccessfully. Hooray! They didn't do the thing. Fans ringside not happy, but fuck them, they don't know what they want. Like, no, long term, this is much better. You sell your car for a ticket for Backlash, you kind of gotta get what you deserve. That was an actual sign. Somebody on the sign said that. Gunter then showing respect to Pat before exiting the ring, because WWE is a weird place. They really want the fans to respect Pat McAfee and they threw him in the ring. And unlike Roy was selling his injury, showed the bruise he's still got on there, showed the fact that he's got a bloodshot eye. Like, they really had Pat sell the physicality of the match with Gunter. And I guess the angle as well is somewhat designed to make the crowd respect Pat McAfee even more. But even though he got his ass kicked, he steps into the ring with Gunter. But yeah, they are immediately swinging back into Gunter versus Jay because, well, who else is he going to face? Like, genuinely, what are they going to do right now? But yeah, that does bring me to the end of a perfectly fine, absolutely fine, easily digestible 3-star B-show special. Like, it's absolutely fine, absolutely okay, and almost like set out to do what a Saturday night's main event that they've used those to kind of do, where the entire point really is showcasing and giving a platform to those wrestlers who have been struggling for time, or those new champions that you are really trying to make look good. And to be fair, technically it's what they were doing John Cena as well, but every single match there was used to establish those new champions and really make them feel good, make them feel like attractions, or give them some form of momentum or story or something, be it Jacob Fatu, Valkyria, Dom Mysterio, like John Cena. Like, the effort was there. I feel like they succeeded in doing so for all of them. So I can't say that this show was unsuccessful. It was successful, really, in everything set out to do. It's not the end of the world if you don't see it. Like, it's absolutely fine just to skip past this. Like, everybody retains. Gunter versus McAfee goes the way that it should have gone. But obviously you got the chaos of the 4-man, which is always fun to see. And Valkyria versus Becky Lynch is generally worth watching. So yeah, I can't call this a crap show because it's absolutely fine. They seemingly a show that was aiming for 3 stars and they hit it. Well done to them. They hit it. So yeah, anyway, after an absolutely fine Backlash, we then jump over to... actually, you know what? It's just going to be a quick one. Let's do a quick trip over to the Yum Yum in Louisville, Kentucky. I don't know how they speak over there in Kentucky. I feel like in Kentucky because they're like Mississippi. That's way souther. I don't. In my head, Louisville, Kentucky is a bit more Louisville kid. Am I stereotyping off of the Colonel? Possibly. Possibly, yeah. Well, I buy my chicken. I think it talks like this in Kentucky. So, yep, tell me I'm wrong. I didn't mean for that to be like the meme debate thing. Tell me that's not Kentucky. I'm entering it uninformed, and I don't know. Anyway, let's jump on over to Io Sky and Rhea Ripley main eventing against Roxanne, Perez and Giulia over on Monday Night Raw.
Your child has so much potential, but your local schools may not be right for them. Check out K-12. K-12 powered schools are accredited tuition-free online public schools for students in kindergarten through 12th grade. This is not your typical homeschooling. With state-certified teachers specially trained to teach online, your child will learn at their speed, at home, with innovative, engaging technology. Join the more than 3 million families who have chosen K-12. Go to k12.com/podcast today to learn more. That's k12.com/podcast.
This is my brutality!
The Perez and Giulia tag team thrown right into the main event. Well, like, to me it feels like that. I did lose 2 weeks to COVID. Because I didn't do a show 2 weeks ago because I was working. And then doing that work I caught COVID, so I missed another show. So I've had a bit of time off here. Like, there are other characters. Io is very much over right now, but there's only one Shirku. And it's pretty fucking clear who the lead attraction is. Rhea Ripley, absolutely the attention, even though she's not the champion, but she is the main person to be paying attention to. She is the driving force for all of this. This match is not in the main event if Rhea Ripley is not in it, even though the women's champion's there. I'll say, in terms of the actual match itself, huge positive for me still. The force of which Rhea Ripley hits the razor's edge on Roxanne Perez. The last Raw I watched, she hit one which looked amazing. Here again, just as painful. It's just, you think you're going to be okay, so she might, when she's going to throw Perez, she might let go of some of the power she's going to give. She's going to make it look like she's going to hit her, and then when she actually sends her to the mat, it's not going to be that bad. But it's almost like she never stops. You never get that halting of momentum. There's never that, but I am going to hit it safely on you. I'm just going to amp up like I'm going to hit it badly. Hit it like I'm going to hurt you. No, it's almost like she launches her trying to hurt her. It's the way that it looks, which means A+ to everybody all round. A perfectly fun little tag main event, the kind of show and main that would absolutely feel grand on a 2-hour show, but tad too low-key for a 3-hour one. If you get through a 3-hour show, it's and this is a level of main event you're kind of building up to. It's this is almost like it's a bit of a waste of time for a 3-hour show, but for a 2-hour show, this is absolutely grand. So a good thing the version I watched was around 1 hour 45. I found it grand. I found it perfectly enjoyable. The crowd sounded tired and knackered though. So even though I did watch a much shorter version of the show, the crowd sounded like they had been through a 3-hour show. That part is unhideable. You can do crappy sound editing, but still, they were just kind of applauding, not even amping up for the later in the match hot tags or the rapid flows as all four of them are throwing their big hits. Io and Giulia were given plenty of room to flow together. Lots of building back and forth with all four lasses getting their shine. Just a shame the crowd never really became heated. For me, the big stand-up moment was that you could hear individual chatter during Ripley's blind tag to Io, even if they were on their feet happy for the Riptide win. It's a perfectly enjoyable main event, continuing to promise us Io defending against Rhea Ripley. But it's fair to say that after watching AEW Dynamite, and obviously it was a special show, but just seeing how loud they are and how into all of the action they are, especially for the big main event, it sure was a whiplash of a hot crowd versus such a nothing response here on Raw. However, at the end of the match, they still stand up and applaud as if they had a lovely time. It's very strange. It's almost like at the end of the show, both crowds were standing and clapping happy. But when you actually watch how they're reacting during the action, it's so nothing. It's so odd. It's so odd to get almost a similar level of aftermath response, but during the actual thing, there was so little reaction. It's so odd. But that's what modern WWE crowds kind of, for the television specifically, it's kind of what it's like. For the pay-per-views, they normally are a lot more into the actual flows of the actions that's happening. But when it comes to TV, it's a really odd atmosphere sometimes. But I call it odd because I've become used to watching fans and crowds actually reacting to the wrestling rather than sitting down on their asses. And to be fair, that's been an insult for WWE for decades. I can't even remember. It might even be during the TNA era, where people saying that they'd rather watch a small arena of people go wild for what they're seeing than a full arena sitting on their hands. Which and I want to say that's a comment from the noughties. So none of this is Triple H era new stuff. It's not critique which has suddenly come in this new era of WWE. It's almost institutional that a lot of their TV recordings, the fans they don't get massively into the actual wrestling bit. But I've talked about it before, where it's all to do with the way you produce your shows, the productions of it. You direct the interest of the viewer, and more often than not, WWE shows condition your viewers to not really care about the wrestling. And a lot of the time, a lot of the booking kind of reflects that. So many main events, you're just waiting for the angle to happen so that the wrestling can stop and they can actually tell their story, which is a huge thing. This Monday Night Raw, that didn't happen here. I feel like the episodes I've watched since WrestleMania, that hasn't really happened that much, because any main event they've done which they want to make story heavy hasn't been a match. It's actually been a story segment. They'll come out and someone will cut a big promo or whatever. So if you want to tell a story, I feel like that's way better for usage of time for WWE than it is putting on a pointless match. But let's just quickly go through the other notes what happened on Raw, because again the main talking point this week was Backlash. CM Punk cut his jab on Seth Rollins to open the show. The line that caught my attention was him saying, "That team moves CM Punk Seth Rollins," to which I immediately go, wait a second. And I've got this on my Google Notes for all my stuff, so I just went back to the last show I did and I looked it up. I was like, oh yeah, Drew McIntyre called Damian Priest the team move Undertaker on the last show I talked about. And I'm like, come on guys. If Punk just improvised that line thinking it was good, it's he may have in the moment not realised where he got it from, but maybe it shows he at least watches the product. But still, if that was scripted, oh, come on guys. come on. Using the exact same line, like, as soon as I return, I hear it again. Drew's already used it, and literally the last show I talked about. Rollins then came on out, he and Breaker still getting cheered as he retread the Punk hatred, breaking down into a punchy punch with Sammy's save being ineffective, but that was so Jey Uso could get the biggest pop. 3-on-2 finally saved them. You can guess what that means. Set us into a Saturday night's main event tag, everybody announced, but then Bron Breakker attacked CM Punk, because CM Punk's like, I'm not working Saturday night's main event. What? What are you talking about? I don't actually know when the date of it is, so I don't know if the idea was to announce the match, take him out, get him replaced with Jey Uso or somebody else. Actually, no, it can't be Jey Uso because he's wrestling the transphobe. Yeah, which actually that does naturally bring me on to the next bit. Jey Uso's first world title defense will be against the transphobe at Saturday night's main event, but on this Raw, Jey Uso had a chinwag with Gunther later in the show. The former champion kind of just lost in limbo, but it feels like this was a segment somewhat reflecting that, but he so quickly got Jey Uso amped up. So just to let us know that we're doing the transphobe at Saturday night's main event, and then we're moving over to Gunther immediately again. Like we're walking it right back, doing this match again at the next pay-per-view, because who else is he going to wrestle? They're lost a little bit. This show did feature AJ Styles versus Finn Balor. Watching those two wrestle to polite, semi-quiet applause, like, oh, that sure is a level of sadness. It's like, oh, these two great wrestlers, and they're wrestling in the middle of a Raw to such little reaction. But you got guys like that you could heat up and give to as a AJ Styles or a Finn Balor, just somebody to face our champion Jey Uso. The thing I did like was Seth Rollins did say that part of his anger for CM Punk is the fact that he would be World Heavyweight Champion now if it wasn't for Punk. So Seth Rollins is still going for that title, and they are building to Seth Rollins versus Jey Uso because they did a segment last week on the show I didn't watch, but at least they recapped it here. But yeah, so they are building to that eventually. It's just, what does Jey do in the meantime? And Seth Rollins is an overact already. This group is working really well. I also like the idea of currently building up more enemies, people they have in their stable, just to, hint at the fact that if they start losing these 3-on-2 battles, as great as Bron Breakker is, if they start losing these battles, and what happened here keeps happening, but you suddenly got CM Punk, Sami Zayn and Jey Uso standing in the ring to fend them off. Well, that maybe implies that they might want to do a bit of rebalancing. So, there's maybe a third slot open. I feel like this group growing and getting that next member, and doing it in this way where you're not just immediately doing it, just taking your time just to build to that next member coming out. I'm perfectly grand with that. That does bring me to the end of my night Raw. But the final thing I wanted to talk about was Becky, but I've already talked about that, so that does bring me to the end of the show this week. A perfectly fine Backlash. And then a Monday Night Raw where, very low-key, not a lot happened, just being like, oh, there's a Saturday night's main event coming along. And after that, we'll be doing Jey Uso versus Gunther. Promise me we are building to Seth Rollins versus Jey Uso as well. But we're using CM Punk really to build this faction, and using Sami Zayn to build it as well. So we're just going to have to wait and see who joins Seth Rollins. And maybe we'll get it at Saturday night's main event, or maybe we still have to wait until the pay-per-view. Yeah, but I wouldn't say I'm massively invested in anything. It feels like we're in a bit of a reset season at the moment. Maybe the Gunther character is a great reflection of Raw at the moment, where we kind of know what we're heading, but we're slowly working our way towards it. So the show at the moment kind of feels in a bit of a limbo as we transition. Like it's not necessary watching. I mean, I can say that as somebody who got ill and didn't watch it, and I come back and I feel like I'm absolutely fine. And to be fair, the episode I've come back to as well is very much skippable. Very much so. There's not really anything on this Raw you have to see. At least on Backlash I can say, no, watch Lyra versus Becky. That is a genuine good time. Anyway, thank you for listening, liking, engaging in any form, any manner. Always appreciated and never taken for granted. I will hopefully stay fit and be back this time next week to talk about whatever I'm meant to be talking about. I don't know when Saturday night's main event is. I watched Backlash yesterday. I watched Raw today. And I wrote my notes not knowing if I'd be able to actually be fit enough to record it. So this is a nice little surprise. Definitely a recording that's going to be cut down quite a bit. I'm going to edit it so it sounds like I'm competent. I know I'm not. I know my brain keeps shutting down and I'm coughing and stuff, but you don't need to hear that. I'm not going to subject you to that stuff. So anyway, I'll be back this time next week to watch the WWE show, so you don't have to. And hopefully I'll be fit enough again for Double or Nothing properly, so I can properly enjoy that stuff, because the matches that went out on Dynamite this week were properly exciting. Also, I can't tell you what it's like as somebody who hasn't been fit enough to drink during Eurovision week. Like, I can't tell you the pain. In terms of this recording as well, I've come straight from finishing watching the semi-final straight to here. It's like, definitely different experience when you can't drink. It's not what I'm used to. I watch it with a drinking game and I've not been able to drink. That's my goal. Get fit for Saturday so I can drink with Eurovision. Anyway, I thank you and bid you adieu. I'll see you next week. Adios.
Your child has so much potential, but your local schools may not be right for them. Check out K-12. K-12 powered schools are accredited tuition-free online public schools for students in kindergarten through 12th grade. This is not your typical homeschooling. With state-certified teachers specially trained to teach online, your child will learn at their speed, at home, with innovative, engaging technology. Join the more than 3 million families who have chosen K-12. Go to k12.com/podcast today to learn more. That's k12.com/podcast.